Shall we pray, honorable members? Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government this land and people may be well and truly served, and that good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the effort of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, shall we turn to item number 4? Item number 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Item number 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official report. Shall we begin with correction of votes and proceedings? We start with page number 1. We start with page number 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page number 4. Page number 5. Page 6. Page number 7. Page 8.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let's hear you.
I was marked absent, but I was present yesterday.
Which page?
Page 8, please.
What item?
Item 36.
Page 8, item number
36.
Table. Please take note. We move to page number 9. Page 10. Page 11. Yes, Honorable Member for Nanton. Tolong. And Deputy Majority Whip.
Yes, the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Republic of Tolong. Mr. Speaker, just to bring you back to page 7. Page 7, item 2, Adam Mohamed Amina Adam Dr. Karga was marked absent, but he was here yesterday. And then item 10, the Honorable Majority Chief Whip, he has filled the absent with permission form that was signed, and he's on official duty to Pan-African Parliament. I don't know why he's absent without permission.
With respect to your raise, his permission request came to me yesterday night. So probably that explains why he was marked absent. So table, please take note of the issue he has raised. So we move to page number 10. Yes, Honorable Clement Park.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member referred to his constituency as a republic. This is a House of Rep, and I don't think that is appropriate. So I want to draw attention to that. There is no Republic of Tolong in the Republic of Ghana. There is only a Republic of Ghana.
Well, I thought you would take it lightly, but he's raising a fundamental issue.
Mr. Speaker, to my colleague, it was on a lighter note because the Speaker said I was a member of Parliament for Nantong, so I was just saying it on a lighter note. It's okay.
Well. So, page number 11. Yes, Honorable Member for Manson Panta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Item 319, a question. Item VI, Bariko should be Banco.
Which page are you talking about?
Page 11. Question number 319.
Yes.
The last battery item, VI. Is there Bariko? It's Banco. It should be BANKO.
So that's the spell of the
yes,
the
term.
term.
The name. Yes, it should be Banco, BANKO.
So table, please take note. Let's turn to page number 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page number 15. Page number 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page number 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the last paragraph, the Honorable
Last paragraph of which page?
23.
23.
The name is Al-Hassan Abdallah Idi, not Abdallah Idi Al-Hassan.
Can you come again, please?
The name is Al-Hassan Abdallah Idi.
Honorable table members, please take note of that. Arafat Hills, are you up on your feet? Fantiaka, are you up on your feet? Very well. So we move to page number 24. Yes, Honorable Member for South Dye.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, a very small correction. Under item number 3 on page 24, item IV, the name is Mr. Ajayi Mensah, hyphen, but table of his got double H. It should be 1 H. It's a personal friend. I know. Thank you.
Well. Table, please take note. And finally, page 25. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 19th sitting held yesterday, the Thursday, 24 February 2022, are adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honorable members, we also have the official report of Friday, the 11th February 2022. Official report of Friday, the 11th February 2022. Yes, Honorable Member for Boribamboy.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, it seems to me there are some missing pages. For instance, if you go to column 4, we expect that you should have column 5, 6, 7, 8 before you get to 9. But all that is missing. So it goes to start from 9. And then when you also come to column 104, there's no 105, there's no 106 up to 109. It starts or it continues from 109. I want to believe that something is missing.
Maybe find it.
Thanks.
Table, have you gotten what he's raising? Honorable Member, can you repeat your issue again?
Yes, I'm saying that normally, we have it in columns. So if you start from column 1, you go to 2, 3, and you go to 4. Column 5 is missing. There's a plain sheet there, there's nothing on it. Until you get to column 9. What it means is that's there, unless of course it's only mine.
It appears it's only yours. Mine is not like what you are complaining about.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to correct it. So in my case, I can bring it for you to
Or
see.
is there any other member who is having the same problem? Are you having the same problem? Honorable Yusuf, it appears you are alone.
Yes, because I want to find out from the table office whether this was deliberate.
Probably it's
And what is my crime?
Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the official report. Yes, may I hear you? Which constituency? Come again?
Page Esikuma.
No, I just wanted to know your constituency.
Esikuma Odobimbra.
Very well, very well. So let's hear you.
Yeah, page 95. Line 7. The author of the African Child is Kamara. Lie. The spelling of the lie is capital capital L-A-R-Y-E-A. Lie. Just like Gan lie. And then, on the same paragraph, last but 3 line, I said it was the mother who was shouting most. The word was missing. It was the mother who was shouting most.
Table, have you?
And then page 96. I remember I said they will go and fetch, that's the line 4 from page 96. They will go and fetch firewood, not water. Firewood and food. And
that
not
is
water.
column 96, not page 96.
Yeah.
You mean column
Line
96?
4. Line 4 on page 96.
Column 96.
Column 2.
It's columns. The entire stretch is column.
Yeah.
Honorable member,
Yes, sir.
do you appreciate the entire stretch is column? So column 95, column 96, column 97, column 98. Do you follow?
Yes, yes, sir. I said 96.
So that's column 96. Paragraph 2.
Yes. Yes, sir.
They will go and fetch water. And you are saying they should go and fetch.
I'm saying it's not water, but firewood.
Very well. So, honorable table members, please take note.
Yes, sir.
Very well. Leader, do you want to say something? Very well. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, just one observation in paragraph page 47, attributed to the Minister for Defense, Dominic Nitiwon. I see goose pimples on my face. I am not aware that you have good pimples on your face. He said goose pimples, but on his face, I have a problem with the on his face. But I know he said he has good pimples, but goose pimples on a face, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Table, please take note of that. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of Friday, the 11th February 2022 is hereby adopted as the true records of proceedings. Yes, Deputy Majority Whip. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I would like to have your leave to bring to the attention of the House a reportage by myjoyonline.com, an online portal of multimedia regarding yesterday's proceedings. Mr. Speaker, it's important that we allow for press freedom, but at the same time, whatever we say here must be reported accurately. We have our individual reputations, and we don't have to allow situations where journalists will report matters we haven't said.
So, leader, hold on.
Yes.
It means you want to make an agent
Yeah,
statement.
Mr. Speaker, I'm coming.
So what order are you coming?
Mr. Speaker, normally under the 72, seek your leave, an urgent matter of public importance. Mr. Speaker, my Joy Online yesterday at 4:47 p.m. put this on their online platform. Evacuation of Ghanaians from Ukraine is a reason we need e-levy afenyomake. Mr. Speaker, I have not said that. I will never say that. And the full tape of what I said is still there. Unfortunately, when they did this, other online platforms have carried it, including Nana Banamwa, who copied the headline and placed it on her social media handle. People reading and ridiculing my thoughts. We can't entertain this. We can't. This morning, my respected friend Randy Abbey, he was very lighter on the matter, but at least he passed a comment on it, on Good Morning Ghana. A lot of online platforms have this. To wait until it's somebody before we comment on it. I would want to, on Joy FM, to pull down the story, render an unqualified apology, that other online platforms that carry this mischief do same. And I'm making an appeal to Nana Banamwa that next she should also check with me, because at least she has my number. We can't allow this. Then we mess each other up, and then people take us not serious, that politicians just get up and say anything. Mr. Speaker, I'm not, but I'm always careful about things I say. If I'm not sure, I won't say them. I may slip, but I'm very careful about things I put out, and I make this demand as of right, far right. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my friend Parker Wilson of Joy FM, this is not the first time. Mr. Speaker, I say this with a lot of pain. I can tolerate, but it is not his first time. He's gained notoriety of going after me with such misreportage. I've complained to his bosses, and yesterday as at midnight, I was calling him. Parker Wilson of Joy FM, who reports for Joy, must know that he has to be fair to all of us. We say we want press freedom, but people must be guided. The video of what I said yesterday is still online. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker had the occasion of also rebutting some fake news that people attributing interview to him. Report fairly. Don't attack politicians for what they've not said. And you do that, you subject them to ridicule, and we have our constituents. And people who are competing with us to use it against us. I will not entertain that. And if they fail to, I have my other rights that I will look for another avenue. I thank you.
Honorable members, he came on order 72, so I'm compelled to admit few comments from members. So I'll take two from each side, but honorable members, it should be brief. I'm saying two from each side, but the comment should be brief. Please, are you listening to me? I'm saying two from each side, but the comment should be brief. Let me listen to honorable member for K2 South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I share the frustration of the Honorable Afenyu-Marking. I've suffered this kind of situation before, and recently I was witness also to what happened to one of our colleagues, Honorable Susu, who also made a conditional statement, but some portals made it an NBC matter and sought to drag all of us into that situation. So I think that is a statement that's been made and must be accepted in good faith by the media, that sometimes they cause us unnecessary tensions and personal discomforts. I recall that a newspaper published Deputy Minister Okay's gay rights, and it had my face on it, and I had said nothing of the sort. So I totally appreciate where the leader is coming from, and I hope that we all take consolation in the fact that it's about him, but it's about all of us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes, honourable member for Anyasotu.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. There's no doubt in my mind about the importance of media work. However, the media owes it to the average Ghanaian to report what is accurate and to report using all the necessary editorial skills. Personally, I think that there should be special media training for those who handle parliamentary affairs and those who handle judiciary affairs and most of the governmental related agencies. Because I think with that, they'll be very much careful in terms of the reports they take out. These media attempts to do what we call character assassination is becoming a bit too much, and it is leading to the detriment of the level, or shall I say, the kind of improvement we wish that media houses would give us. Technology is advancing, but the people behind the technology are using it inappropriately. On that note, I end my 2 cents comment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Mutala, please, I'm asking you to be brief.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can understand the frustration of my colleague, and we have all been victims of such reportage. Mr. Speaker, there was a time a story was published in one of the media houses printout. It had to do with, I think, the Upper East MPP regional chairman who bears the same name as Murtala Muhammad. Yet my picture was used. When my attention was drawn to it, I called that media house, indicated to them that yes, it's the same name, but the picture you're using is not the picture of the regional chairman. For days, it wasn't pulled down. Another incident where I granted an interview to one media house, and they completely reported something I never said. Mr. Speaker, I rise to contribute to this because just recently, I had a program on a TV station, and I said certain things about the media, about politicians, and also the press corps. And they had excerpts of what I said on social media. And the press corps in Parliament were unhappy. I have had some interactions with at least about 2 of their members, and I asked them whether they watched the entire clip. Because when you take excerpts of what a person says, and you come to conclusions on that, you'll be angry, and I can understand. Perhaps if people who listened to Proceedings and watched Proceedings yesterday would have known that he never categorically said that but for e-levy, we will not be able to bring these people to this country. So I think that we work in tandem. We are brothers and we need to work together. But when you have excerpts of such, and this day and age of social media, people will come to conclusions based on what is shown there. And for me, I absolutely agree with it, and it resonates with the experiences most of us have had. So it is appropriate the media house does the needful so that we don't have the repetition of such occurrences. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Today you've been brief. Let him come to honourable member for Asante Achim Central, then I come to leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I listen to comments from both sides of the aisle, Mr. Speaker, it looks like there are consensus that have been built here. The media is the fourth arm of government, and they help to disseminate whatever we discuss or carry on board. When politicians fail, the media will report the media will rebuke, and the media will set us or put us on the rail. I do not think that it is just enough for the leader to say that I demand an apology. Mr. Speaker, I will urge Mr. Speaker to direct this to an appropriate committee to investigate this particular issue. Why did the paper report otherwise? What was the reasoning behind it? Was it just a mistake? Was it inadvertent? If it was inadvertent, then he could withdraw and apologize. We have to find out whether this is intentional. Why did this occur? And then an appropriate recommendations be made to the House for an action to be taken. That way, Mr. Speaker, I think that there will be some sort of deterrence to deter other newspapers from going along this dangerous tangent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let him come to leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, in agreeing to the situation where we want the media to report accurately what happened on the floor, I don't think that we should blame the journalists entirely at this moment. Mr. Speaker, what my colleague said yesterday is a matter of public record. The cameras are here and they have recorded it. We have the video recording. The Hansard is there. We can call for the recording and listen to what my colleague said before we come to conclusion to say that the journalist has reported otherwise. So for me, it is after that, before, if there is a need for an apology, he can be allowed to apologize to my colleague. So to me myself, the understanding I got yesterday from my colleague was that it is expenditure of this nature, evacuation of students. That is why we need the e-levy. So somebody can interpret it that we need e-levy in order to bring our students home, because it's a matter of money. So let us not condemn the journalists at this moment. Let's call for the video recording. Let's see what really my colleague said. Then we can conclude. So, this is what I think we should do. I thank you.
Yes. Anybody? No. Deputy Majority Leader, I'm not allowing you. I'm not allowing you. I'm not allowing you. Raise the issue. If any of the deputy whips, then yes, Muhib, Habib, let me hear you.
Thank you. I'm surprised at you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I think yes, I'm surprised our colleagues or our friends from the media should understand the fact.
Please, let's have silence here.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity, but I think our friends from the media should understand that we are friends and partners, and for that matter, they need to be fair. Whatsoever it is, proceedings in Parliament are live, and we can all go and watch and see. But you could see that colleagues, members of Parliament who were on their feet, all alluded to the same thing: negative reportage, misplaced headlines, and misinterpretation and representation of what members have said. Mr. Speaker, and this is very clear in our standing orders. If you go and look at 30H, it says that publication of false, perverted, misleading, disorder, fabrication of scandalous reports, books or libel reflecting on the proceedings in Parliament. Even though we are not seeking for anything being referred to the Privileges Committee, but our media friends should be guided and know that reporting or saying things to members of Parliament which are not true and unfair to us, we might many a time struggle to even grant them interview, or will not want to even speak to them. Because at the end of the day, you want to share information, you will be misconstrued, misinterpreted, thereby trying to destroy your image. So I call on our media practitioners to be fair, and Mr. Speaker, to also appeal to you that you should so direct. You should so direct that if it is so, the misleading reports Joy FM took, they should pull it down and render an unqualified apology to the deputy majority leader. It will be fair for us to know that you cannot, Mr. Speaker, misinterpret and misrepresent to let someone look bad in the eye of the public. It's rather unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Leader, I thought you were leader.
I'm not speaking to the issue. I wanted to give a suggestion. If you be minded to take that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, whereas the concerns that have been raised matters, I think that one of the neatest ways to be able to resolve this is for leadership at conclave, either immediately after sitting or some 2-3 can go out now, get the Hansard, the audiovisual department, get what our colleagues said yesterday, and then based on the content and what was reported, we may be able to determine whether truly there is a true misrepresentation. Because, Mr. Speaker, the challenge is that as we are all speaking, and what I heard from the deputy leader, some are saying, oh, he said something to that. He said that he hasn't said that. So even among us as members of parliament, we don't seem to agree whether what he said, or did he say it or he didn't say it. But I thought that if you could allow leadership maybe 15 minutes to do that and come back, so that when we authenticate that, then obviously it will be a matter for privileges. Other than that, I don't see how you are going to be able to resolve this in a way that our own press corps will not feel intimidated. Because we should remember that in all this that we do, our efforts should not be to gag the press corps. Neither are we to intimidate them. But obviously they must also do what is right. So that was a suggestion that I thought could be helpful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well. I think I'll go by what Honorable Muntaka has said. We will call for the video and see what actually took place. Personally, I feel probably if even he said something like that, it was just on a lighter note. It's not just an issue that he was raising an emphatic statement on that. It could be just a lighter note. Normally, in the House, at times we say certain things like that just for us to release ourselves. But members of the media, please, you are our partners. Without you, nothing in this chamber will get out. Please take note that each and everyone here has his own or her own right. So if you say something that has not been attributed to the person, it means you are defaming the person. Let's take note of this. I mean, once he's raising this issue, it's an advice to all of us. Don't let us pick a particular radio station or media house and say you are specifically doing this to touch somebody's image. Please, without you, we cannot get anything done meaningfully in this house. So we are partners. Let's work together. And as such, let's respect each other so that we wouldn't have anything against each other. But like what the minority rep said, we will look at it and see how to address the issue. I'm so grateful to you. So we now move to item number 5. Item number 5, business statement for the 6th week. Let me invite the Deputy Majority Whip on behalf of the Leader of the House. I'm sorry, Deputy Majority Leader. On behalf of the Leader of the House to read the business statement of the ensuing 6th week.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the leave to proceed with the business statement on behalf of the Chair of the Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, your committee met yesterday and made the following proposals for consideration of the House for the ensuing week. Mr. Speaker, first, 49 questions have been programmed. 11 of these are urgent, and the rest are regular questions to be answered. The Transport Ministry was scheduled to come on Tuesday, but, Mr. Speaker, for a communication received from the Ministry, the Transport Ministry has been rescheduled for Wednesday. The Speaker can exercise discretion to admit statements, allow report to be laid, motions to be taken, debated, and resolutions, if any, if necessary, passed. Now, Mr. Speaker, last week, Friday, we had indicated that the State of the Nation could be taken on the 3rd of March 2022. This indicative date has, however, been put on ice by us, and would duly communicate a new date to the House after we have engaged the presidency. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we are not required to sit on the 6th of March, as it's a public holiday, and as has been the practice since the day itself is a Sunday, Monday will be a public holiday. We are not sitting on Monday. We are expected to be in our constituencies to do constituency work. So, Mr. Speaker, we have attached for consideration of members the order in which the ensuing week's business is to proceed. A number of questions have been programmed, and we have some bills to be taken, and I'm sure some statements that have been admitted will find space for consideration. Mr. Speaker, having said all of these, and without more, I move this House in accordance with Order 162 and 53 to accept this report. Of course, subject to contributions and amendments and all that members would want to add to make it a good program for the ensuing week. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, the business statement for the ensuing 6th week has been read to us. If there's any member who has an issue, you'll be welcome. Let me begin with a member for Medina.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the leader of government business, or the acting leader of government business, for presenting the business for next week. Mr. Speaker, within the course of the week, there was an unfortunate incident in one of the courts where a prison officer accidentally discharged firearms in the court, and for which reason I filed an urgent question to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General to tell the House steps being taken to ensure safety in all our courts across the country in the light of the said accidental discharge of firearms. My check shows that it's been admitted, but I can see that it hasn't been programmed for this week, for next week, even though I think it's a very urgent matter. So I want to find out from the leader if there are steps being taken to make sure that it could be included. Mr. Speaker, also there was another major incident that was reported on Joy FM in respect of abuse of an individual alleged to have been a witch. And another urgent question was filed in respect of that. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to find out when those ones could be scheduled for the respective ministers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, before I come to you, I think I've said this more than twice, that the mere fact you filed a question indicating that it should be processed on an urgent manner does not necessarily mean that you admit it as such. If you look at it and see that the question, though, must be admitted, but not on the agenda, you will do so. So, I don't know. Your indication that you are saying you check the indication that it has been admitted, as whether it was admitted under agency or under normal process, that's another thing. So let's take note. It's not automatic that you, once you request that a question be admitted under a certificate of agency, automatically you will take it like that. We do a lot of assessment before we admit it on that manner. So, Honorable Member for Nadoli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Last week, I was on my feet regarding a question I filed in respect of water crisis in Sankana, in the Nadoli-Kaleo constituency. It was evident that the question was skipped when the minister was coming before the House. Leader duly advised me to meet my leadership and then the table office, and I did that. I was assured that the next time the minister is coming before the House, the question will be scheduled. Luckily for me, on Thursday, the minister is due to answer an urgent question in the House, and my question has not been rostered for Thursday again. I don't know if leadership could take note and probably consider scheduling the question. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Clement Apak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in presenting the business statement, the Deputy Majority Leader made the case that the earlier indication that His Excellency the President will be addressing the nation on March the 10th, to quote him, has been put on ice. Mr. Speaker, I think it would only be fair to know why that has been put on ice. Because I believe as a nation, with the conditions currently facing us, we are all anxious to hear what the state of the nation is. So if it has been put on ice, I believe we should get an indication as to why it has been put on ice.
Very well. Let me come to Enya Sotio.
Mr. Speaker, in relation to our students in Ukraine, and I really think that hopefully we can have a question leading up to the either Education Minister or Foreign Affairs Minister coming up. I thought that would be urgent for our Member of Parliament from, is it Adenta or Medina? Medina. So I would hope that maybe he can file something in relation to that. That I think might be more urgent.
Honourable Member, I believe yesterday the minority leader made a statement to that effect. The need to evacuate our brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters or nephews and nieces from Ukraine. I think based on that discussion, the Deputy Majority Leader is alleged to have made certain statements that, so it's already, a statement has already been made to that effect. But I think, like we are saying, the Minister for Foreign Affairs needs to come to the House to at least brief the nation as to what steps the government is taking. Well. So let me come to Salaga South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in presenting the business statement for next week, the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader indicated that the 6th March, which is a national holiday, falls on the Sunday, for which reason Monday, the next working day, will be a holiday for public servants and civil servants. Indicated that as members of parliament, we already have Mondays to work in the constituency. And I wanted to find out whether we will be entitled to a holiday on the Tuesday, because that will be our first working day after the holiday. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker.
Without consulting, I will say no. Yes, let me come to Medina, Adenta. From there, I'll come to New Biasi Adansi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with respect to the issue on Ukraine, yesterday the minority leader raised the issue, and I'm asked the House to urgently invite the ministers for Foreign Affairs, Finance and Interior to apprise the House on the measures government is putting in place to ensure the safety of the Ghanaians in Ukraine. So
It's on page.
it's on page 13 of the votes and proceedings for today. You'd find that the Honorable Minority Leader had raised the issue. So I would wish that it will find space in this week's business statement so that the ministers would appear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me go to Adansi. New Biasi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I filed a question on the abandoned New Biasi Sports Stadium, and it was due last Friday. Mr. Speaker, when I waited for my turn, and when you called me to ask the question, the majority leader asked me to wait. The reason was that the minister didn't have answers to my question. And the expectation was that the question will find expression in next week's business statement. So I get the opportunity to ask the Minister for Youth and Sports. So I wanted to find out how that is coming, and when would I get the opportunity to ask all these important questions. Mr. Speaker, you know that the project has a lot of community interest, and I see the Ashanti Regional Minister in the chamber. He has had the occasion to answer a lot of questions on the project from our chiefs and people from my constituency. And I know, Mr. Speaker, you personally have a lot of interest in this project, as it will serve, a lot of purpose in the Adansi enclave. So, for such an important question, I think that we need, answers. My constituents need answers to when the contractor will come to site and why the project has been abandoned for 6 years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, let him now come to Savdai.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the privilege to comment on the business statement ably presented by the Deputy Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, I first of all want to lend my voice to the issue raised by my brother Susu, and pray that pursuant to Order 160 Sub 2, the amendment be effected to the content of the business statement to accommodate that as part of the urgent questions for next week. Mr. Speaker, that will be one. Two, Mr. Speaker, I see that again, the Students' Loan Trust Fund Amendment Bill is featuring heavily for next week. Mr. Speaker, I raised this matter last week just because many amendments listed in respect of the bill at the consideration stage. And so I've been very punctual and attendant in the House for all this while. I don't want to be surprised that when some other parliamentary business takes me away from the House, the bill may be considered in my absence, and then my proposed amendments may not be carried. Nobody may defend it for it to be considered. So once it's been listed again for next week, I pray the House that we schedule it in such a way that we attend to it. We attend to it. It was listed for this week, but we couldn't. So I want to pray leadership that we try to attend to it next week. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Article 106, subclause 4(5), and want to pray that the issue of e-levy is a very important one. Very, very important one. And Mr. Speaker, like I pointed out last week, we appear to be running against time. By the 15th of March, the e-levy would have spent 3 months before the committee. Now, the critical issue is the committee had finished with its work, but its report is not before the House. It's not been laid and debated. So it's in abeyance. And so I want leadership to have a look at it. We can debate the report, suspend the question for some time, pending further consultations. So my worry is that we need to deal with that report, because the e-levy was considered under a certificate of urgency, and it was submitted to this House on the 15th of December. We want to know why the e-levy is not featuring for next week. We want to know why. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity.
Very well. We will ask the Deputy Majority Leader to respond to some of the concerns raised. Then we will come back to Boy Bamboy. Yes, Honorable Fenyo.
Mr. Speaker, the business statement gave a clear indication of how business will be run in the ensuing week. And we're clear in saying that bills will be considered, motions will be considered, papers will be laid, and all that. That includes all matters that are already before the House and are outstanding, and matters that are yet to come before the House. So that leaves me with no doubt that the concerns by the honorable gentleman who just spoke have already been considered by us as a committee. On the issue of urgent question by Honorable Susu, Mr. Speaker, I shall your response to a member on that issue of question, and add that merely saying you have indication of an admission of your question is not enough. I think Honorable Okudzeto Ablako has set the tone for all of us when he had a question and he followed through and went through the records. We should not create certain impression about our table office. I know they have what it takes to carry on the business that they've been assigned to. So please, these are reputational issues. If really Mr. Speaker has not admitted, and you say you have an indication from who? And let me put it on record that all the dispatch they received from Mr. Speaker are brought before us. So I don't want it to be that they go for it and they fail to bring to attention. So please, there are ways to navigate these things on Fridays. I have been there before. I know how it's done. but the language might be said that you must be play it safe. We've done this in opposition before. I know. Where you filed a question, it's not been admitted, but you want to slip it. Honorable Suhini did it when he filed his statement. He knew it had not been admitted, but he used comments on the business statement to make his point. Then he finally got it. We know all of it. New Edubiase tried to follow the same strategy, but it's normal. Your constituents must know you are working. There's no problem. I understand. But go through your whips. Go through your whips. If you don't want to go through your whips, you walk directly to the table office. You will know the status of your question. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe these are the relevant issues. Yes, Honorable Ramadan. This Ukraine matter that has brought e-levy matter, you want to come up with it again. You know, the leader of your side raised this issue, and he is part of the business committee. I believe government is making the necessary arrangement. I won't speak for the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but I'm sure government takes this matter serious, and you would hear from government. I mean, my constituents, I have constituents in Ukraine who are studying. I believe many MPs have their constituents there on government scholarship, or even parents are paying for their fees. So what is right will be done. And you needed not to repeat. Mr. Speaker, Hajia Zuera, my own Hajia Zuera, from Mfutu, but in Salaga South, wants to know about a Tuesday public holiday. Mr. Speaker, my answer is it will be illegal, it will be unconstitutional, and it will be offensive to the Constitution for me to declare Tuesday as a holiday for MPs. I thank you.
Yes, is Honorable Yusuf now declined to raise an issue. Honorable, I'll come to you. Let me listen.
Mr. Speaker, I listened to the Deputy Majority Whip, and I thought I would have been okay with his answers. But since you have given me the opportunity, let me say that the issue of e-levy is so important that we could have isolated it and treated it as an urgent matter as it has always been treated. Okay? It's as if without e-levy, the sun will not rise again, and the moon will not also rise again. And if this is the state in which we have found ourselves, we better address the issue. We were told that if we are not careful, in the next 3 months' time, government will not be able to even pay salaries. That is how important it is that we look at how to generate revenue. So if there is anything that we want to do, let's bring e-levy here. Let's take a decision on it. We have been told that there are other alternatives. If we take a decision, and there's a need for us now to look at those alternatives, we can begin to look at them because there's no time. But to reiterate our point, of e-levy, I know that they are mutual. Thank you.
No. I wouldn't come to you. Let me come to Honorable Ho Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Deputy Minority Whip raised issues about this Assembly's Common Fund. And you being in the chair directed that we should hold a meeting. In fact, it was even adopted by the majority leader, that we should hold a meeting with the Ministry of Finance and the relevant committees so as to come to a clear determination of what should be done. And then report back last week, or earlier, we should rather report earlier this week. But, Mr. Speaker, the meeting has not taken place. I don't know why. I have spoken to the majority leader. He told me that certain people were expected to participate in that meeting. But here we are, the week has ended, the meeting has not been held. I want to find out from the deputy majority leader how these things came up in the scheme of work and in the business statement for the coming week.
Well. Yes, Honorable Eric Opoku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the last business statement, the one delivered last week, we were made to understand that on the 3rd of March, His Excellency the President will be here to deliver the State of the Nation address. Mr. Speaker, the House is fully prepared to listen to His Excellency. Unfortunately, today, we are being told that that date no longer holds. And the leader indicated to the House the reason why His Excellency appearing as scheduled to discharge such an important constitutional duty.
You said you were fully prepared. Did you say that? How did you prepare? Did you go?
Once the House has programmed to do that, psychologically, we are fully prepared.
I thought you saw a new coat for. Let him come to Pro East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Deputy Majority Leader intimated that the Minister for Transport will appear before the House on Wednesday instead of the Tuesday program. Mr. Speaker, this is about the 4th time that these days have been changed, especially when it comes to the particular issue about transport. Can the Deputy Majority Leader assure, especially those of us who have questions, that the Wednesday is a definite, there will be a definite appearance? Because even on today's order paper, it was supposed to be Tuesday. It's already been shifted to Wednesday. Will the Wednesday be confirmed? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question concerns our drivers, the drivers for the MPs. I'm reliably informed that a place was allocated to them where they could socialize and possibly relax when they have dropped us off for us to do our duties. Unfortunately, the place has been taken away from them. So as we speak, when they drop us off, they are either sitting in their cars or loitering around or possibly sitting under the trees. And they find this very uncomfortable. I don't know if it has come to the notice of leadership. If it has, why did they take away the room from them? And if it hasn't, then this is a formal notice to them that this is the concern of the drivers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Deputy Majority Leader. Let's allow Honourable Leader to also.
Mr. Speaker, just to find out from the Deputy Leader if we can make some space available for the Foreign Affairs Minister to brief the House next week on what they are doing in terms of the evacuation of our students from Ukraine, if it's possible, so that we invite him to brief the House. The second one is on the motion which was dismissed by the First Deputy Speaker for the COVID expenditure. Mr. Speaker, it was said that the Public Accounts Committee, or the issue fall within the domain of the Public Accounts Committee. And, Mr. Speaker, there is no report on the COVID expenditure before the committee. So, saying that the Public Accounts Committee should work on that report, there is no report. Mr. Speaker, the First Deputy Speaker also mentioned that the Public Accounts Committee can go ahead and do the inquiry. And when I asked further questions, the answer wasn't clear to me. Can the Deputy Majority Leader clarify this so that the PAC can go ahead and then invite for the inquiry into under Article 103(3) of the Constitution, as Parliament may determine. So if the House determines that the Public Accounts Committee should go ahead and investigate and do inquiry, we'll be prepared to do so. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it is in the interest of justice that litigations must come to an end. It is the interest of justice for litigation to come to an end. And for all political debates, when there are pronouncements on same, we must move on. That notwithstanding, since it's your pleasure for us to seek clarity, I may have to take this opportunity to clarify that the grounds of my preliminary objection was, among others, anchored on Article 187 of the Constitution. And for the avoidance of doubt, I shall proceed with the provisions of 187, which provision Mr. Speaker relied on in his ruling. There shall be an Auditor General of Ghana whose office shall be a public office. The public account of Ghana and of all public offices, including the courts, the central and local government administrations, of the universities and public institutions of like nature, of any public corporation or other body or organization established by an act of parliament shall be audited and reported on by the Auditor General. For our purpose, I will proceed to 5 and 6. The Auditor General shall, within 6 months after the end of the immediately preceding financial year, to which each of the accounts mentioned in Clause 2 of this article relates, submit its report to Parliament, and shall in that report draw attention to any irregularities in the account audited and to any other matter which in his opinion ought to be brought to the notice of Parliament. 6. Parliament shall debate the report of the Auditor General and appoint where necessary in the public interest a committee to deal with any matters arising from it. The mainstay of Mr. Speaker's ruling, which ruling sustained my objection, was to the effect that per these provisions, the application by Honorable Kesel Atufosi, which application was seeking to move the House to set up a committee to look into possible irregularities, can best be resolved here. In any event, in his application, he argued that the 2020 expenditure must also be investigated. So basically, Mr. Speaker throughout dismissed the application. He dismissed it in limine he dismissed it in limine and said that the application was rather coming too early in the day, but as a parliament, our 103 constitutional raison d'etre has not been ousted by 187. 187 rather reinforces that provision because procedure and prudence move together. Therefore, you patiently wait. The very irregularities that you seek to investigate are best done by the Auditor General. And when he is done with his work, he would bring the report to us to debate. If we are not okay, we set up a committee. It means you as the minority, deputy minority leader, doubling as a chair of the PAC, would have the opportunity to peruse it. In any event, I don't think an impression is being created that the COVID expenditure cannot be part of the audit of the Auditor General. I don't think any member of this house is suggesting that Auditor General cannot touch the expenditure. And for the record, the Auditor General looks at all the expenditure at the various ministries and agencies, and Article 1872 is clear on that. So I think we have to put this matter to a peaceful rest until time shall be no more. Well, Mr. Speaker, if you want to appeal the decision of Mr. Speaker, you know what to do. We love debate. We would not come for a debate.
Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, very well. Mr. Speaker, he's engaging me off record.
So you don't have to respond.
Very well, Mr. Speaker, if you say so. Mr. Speaker, this man intimidated me when he was the chairman of Finance Committee. He still wants to intimidate me. I don't know why. Mr. Speaker, and his beard, yes, it's now white. Oh, Menyosia. Mr. Speaker, so that's about it. On the levy. Mr. Speaker, we've been engaging. We know we have been engaging. Mr. Speaker, as he is my friend and my kinsman, he shouldn't be the one to draw the sword. He shouldn't be the one. Against the murderer, he should shut the door. But he's bearing it himself, as he's my friend and my kinsman. Mr. Speaker, I won't mention any name. Mr. Speaker, the point is, we are engaging. And yesterday, as my respected colleague from your constituency, Bole, Mr. Speaker, I once enjoyed this debate and I keep going over that debate. He heard Mr. Speaker. He heard Mr. Speaker, and this morning he himself has quoted Mr. Speaker. So that means the needful must be done. Let's ensure that the engagement become fruitful. Mr. Speaker, I think we've resolved all matters. Mr. Speaker may now, gavel. Mr. Speaker, gavel. Yes, Mr. Speaker, on the Foreign Affairs Minister, yes, I had a positive indication from my boss, who is now in, that the Foreign Affairs Minister will come next week to brief us. So, the State of the Nation address, it is for us as Parliament to, Mr. Speaker, Parliament will engage the presidency on a message. It is a message on the State of the Nation. It's not State of the Nation address, a message. The message will come. It is us. It is us. Mr. Speaker, I'm under training. Mr. Speaker, my professor is in. So I'm no more naked. So, Mr. Speaker, it is for us to engage the presidency. It's not the presidency that is refusing to come. The presidency is ever ready. Mr. President is ready. Just as we are ready with the e-levy. We are ready with the e-levy. But take your medical leave. Go for your reviews. We are ready. But we are engaging. Let's finish the engagement. Mr. Speaker, you may govern.
Honorable members, the business statement as discussed is hereby adopted. Honorable members, let's now turn to item number 6. Item number 6, question time. We have the Honorable Minister for Ashanti Region, who has been here since morning to come and answer a question that has been posed to him. So let's turn to question P3, question number 507. Question number 507. That stands in the name of a member for South Dye, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Kwame Dafiama. I couldn't mention that one. So, Honorable, the Minister is available. You may now ask your question.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I see that, Mr. Speaker, is still glowing in your birthday jubilation mood. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to rise to ask the Minister for the Ashanti region under what circumstances were military men sent to Kumasi Girls High School at night. I thank you.
Yes, respectful Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I sat and listened to my colleagues debating, it brought back nostalgic memories of my 12 years in the House. I wish I could also debate, but that possibility is not there. And I'm grateful to the Honorable Member for South Dye for bringing me back to this House. Mr. Speaker, my work here is simple: to respond to a question posed by Honorable Roxanne Nelson Kwame Dafiamepo, Member of Parliament for South Dye, and my friend, asking the Minister for Ashanti region under what circumstances were military men sent to Kumasi Girls Senior High School at night. Mr. Speaker, on the 16th July 2021, according to the headmistress of Kumasi Girls Senior High School, the school received a letter from the Deputy Director General, Q&A, that is Quality and Access, on Child's official platform informing all heads of senior high schools to permit Form 3 students to go on mid-semester break from Tuesday, 20th July 2021 to 25th July 2021. However, those who will not be ready to go should be allowed to stay and be fed. The Form 3 students were assembled on Monday morning, the 19th of July 2021, and were informed of their mid-semester break, which they received with jubilations. However, in the evening of the same day, another letter was received from the Deputy Director General, Q&A, on the same child's official platform, asking heads of senior high schools to stop students from going home because of the upsurge in COVID-19 cases. Again, the Form 3 students were informed of the new development. The latter information did not go down well with them. So the students started throwing stones and sticks while singing and chanting, "We want to go home, we want to go home." In the process, they started destroying Boreka buckets, dustbins, and other COVID-19 material that had been placed at vantage points on the school compound. Some of the students marched to the residence of the headmistress, singing and chanting, "We want to go home," and throwing stones onto the roof of the bungalow, while others moved towards the school main gate and car park. Sensing danger, the headmistress quickly reported to the Bushen Police Command, who initially sent 4 police personnel to maintain peace and order in the school. Later, they were joined by 2 other police personnel. The police instructed the students to move to their dormitories. They refused to go, so the police started chasing them, which made them run helter-skelter. Reluctantly, and still throwing stones and hooting, they eventually returned to their dormitories. Ultimately, calm was restored. When the incident was ongoing, when the incident was going on, the control station, which is a joint headquarters of Operation Calm Life at the regional police station, transmitted on the police network that some students of Kumasi Girls Senior High School were rioting and destroying properties in the school. Consequently, an Operation Calm Life patrol vehicle with 4 soldiers and 2 civil police monitored the transmission and proceeded to the scene to help restore law and order. On arrival of the patrol team, civil police patrols were already at the scene and normalcy had been restored. The patrol team therefore withdrew to continue with their patrols. Actually, military personnel were not specifically invited to the police, but it was part of their normal Operation Calm Life duties. During the incident, 3 tutors were hit with stones. According to the headmistress, no one reported assault or injury of any student to the authorities. However, as students were running helter-skelter, it was possible there could be some injuries. Calm has since been restored and school activities are going on smoothly. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable, I hope it's an elaborate answer. So, no further question.
Speaker, I do have supplementary. I do.
Let's hear you.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, if the contents of paragraph 5 of the minister's answer states that the military were not specifically invited to the school, but they came as part of their normal Operation Calm Life duties. And so the question this House will want to ask is, what is the scope of operations for the Operation Calm Life operational team in Kumasi?
Very well. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Operation Calm Life involves patrol teams, joint patrol teams of military and police to ensure safety of all Ghanaians. So normally they move around. Patrol teams are not static at a single place. They move around. And any time there's transmission of security threat anywhere, the closest team moves in to solve the problem or to make sure calm and order are restored. So their main operation to ensure that there's peace, there's law and order in this country. And they are not stationary. These are patrol teams, joint patrol teams. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, this event traumatized some students and some parents. Indeed, I was called by some parents in my constituency concerning the matter. That was why you see that I am filing the question. And as adolescents, some of these things, the impact can have some adverse effects. So I want to find out, as the regional minister, whether you directed the head of the school or the management to meet with the students to debrief them regarding the events of the night.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. The following day, before the students left, the headmistress met them. Now, even the police, they did not, all of them did not leave, who were left on campus to ensure that maybe the rioting and the crisis do not reoccur. So the next morning, in the presence of the police, the headmistress and the house staff addressed all the students before those who wanted to leave left the campus. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes. Honorable, I'll give you your last.
I won't trouble my friend any further. I want to commend him for the efforts made and also to urge him so that we don't experience such. Well, I'm sure it was a miscommunication. A letter says go home, another letter says stay. And adolescents can react to those things. So I thank you for coming.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Member for Ketu South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this question reminds me of my going to St. Louis Secondary School. I went to secondary school when I was 11 years old. And I can imagine that if I was there and the police, the security agencies come, how traumatized I would have been. I want to catastrophe before I say, Eugene, thou shalt not. Mr. Speaker, I want the regional minister to consider involving or urging the heads of the secondary schools to consider involving past students in dealing with some of the issues instead of the level to which they go. Because I recall that St. Louis Secondary School also had the military in our school. And the feedback to us past students was terrifying. We would want to support you in managing the numbers that we have in the secondary schools now. We were 360 when I was there. Now even the Form 3s alone are over 2,000. So I imagine what you're going through and what the headmistresses and headmasters are going through. But I'm sure that we can find a more amicable way of addressing the needs and the concerns that the students present. I imagine that you and I probably, if we are not in the same, you're probably older than me, but those of us who went in the 70s, went to secondary school in the 70s and the 80s, what we experience is not what the children are experiencing now. So that in itself can be stressful for the children. So involving the military in the affairs now leaves a sad taste in my mouth. So please, let's consider involving other people, stakeholders as well. Thank you.
Yours is not even a question, isn't it? Please, it's a question time. So if you don't have a question, then we discharge the Honorable Minister. So it's not time for comment, just question. So Honorable Member for, is it Wa West?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. And I want to thank my friend Honorable Dafema for raising a very important question that has to do with security. Honorable Minister, in your question, if I may read that portion that I want to ask a question on for you. On arrival of the patrol team, civil police patrols were already at the scene and normalcy had been restored. Honorable Minister, you will bear with me that anytime you find men and women in uniform, they are under command and control and do not necessarily just respond to radio messages. If there is a radio message, there will be an instruction of which particular team will respond to that particular situation. What did you do as RESEC chairman when you realized that the presence of military on the campus alone was so traumatizing to the young girls because they had gone there without any instructions? Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, the previous intervention, you see, when you are dealing with security issues, and it's not a protracted security issue, you cannot say, I'm going to consult stakeholders. Students are rioting, they started destroying properties, it could have affected human lives. That wasn't the time to go and consult those students. It was impossible. So you have to deal with the security situation there and then and make sure that calm is restored. In situations where we have protracted security issues, that one we can consult various stakeholders, but this one is not possible. All right. First, you have to know the mandate of the Operation Calm Light patrol teams. The moment they get the transmission, it's another, it's instruction. The closest patrol team must move in. Because it's more like a rapid deployment team to act quickly and instantly and restore normalcy wherever any security is undermined. So that one, it doesn't require a regional minister who, by law, is the chairman of the Regional Security Council to go and give order before they go. So that is the case. So this one, they don't need special invitation before they can go to any place where there's security. For instance, if you ring a police station, a police command, that armed robbers are attacking you, and goes on the police transmission network, and the closest Operation Calm Life team should move to your place, not to wait for any other command. So that is the nature of the operations. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable, you want to have a bite? Okay, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I know from the minister when the situation in the school calmed down, or when a peace was restored, as the regional minister, did you go to the school to speak to the students because something triggered something? Did you go there as the minister? What did you tell them? Or if you didn't go, why?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much. I went to the school the following day. Then when I went there, the headmistress had already calmed down the situation. She had had discussions with the students, and most of the students were even leaving campus. That wasn't the appropriate time to recall them because it could have degenerated in the previous crisis that we had. Thank you very much.
Yes, Niwediase.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to find out from the minister that beyond the police and the military going there to restore calm, have you taken any steps beyond that to actually find out, to sit with the school administrator to find out the underlying causes? Because some of the reasons we are citing right now could only be a trigger. There may be real underlying issues for which, the student behaved the way they did. And it's important that we understand the students and why they behaved the way they did beyond the reasons that have been espoused. Have you taken any steps to do that?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
As much as I agree that in some security situations, you might have remote causes and immediate causes. For this particular instance, it was clear. Students had been asked that they were going on their semester break, and another information comes in and says that no, you can no longer go. This doesn't require any further study or investigation into the issue. It's a straightforward issue, and it doesn't require further investigation. Thank you very much.
Yes, honorable members, I would like to, on behalf of all of you, thank the regional minister for coming all the way from Osekrum to come and answer Kumasi, to come to answer a question from a member. Honorable, we are so grateful. We thank you for attending upon the house, and you are hereby discharged. Leader, do we move to item number 7 or?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know of statements that you have, but with respect, if we could get to item listed as 8, and do 8A before coming back to 7. If there are any statements, then you can take them.
Shall we take the 8B as well?
Speaker, the chairman of the Finance Committee is unavailable. I'm not too sure that they finished that. So we can take the 8A.
Very well. Honorable members, let's turn to page number 3 on today's paper. Page number 3, at the commencement of public business, item listed number 8. Then we move to 8A, the Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development.
Speaker, if I may crave your indulgence to present the paper on behalf of the Minister responsible for local government, decentralization and rural development. 8A.
Very well.
Registration of Births and Deaths Regulation 2022.
Honorable members, the regulation has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation for consideration and report. Honorable members, we now turn to item number 8. Item number 7, I beg your pardon, statements. The statement we are about to raise stands in the name of a member for K2 South on International Mother Language Tongue Day. K2 South, International Mother Language Tongue Day. Honorable member, you may have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, if you give me a minute, I'll come back to it. real quick. It was accepted before. It's on my phone, so I'm trying to retrieve it. If you give me a minute. No, it was accepted 2 days ago, but I was not called, and I have not been informed that it will be taken today. But it's a very important statement, and so I'll make it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity.
So it means we are not ready.
I am ready, Mr. Speaker.
And members don't even have copies. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know the statement, whether it's a commemorative one. If it is commemorative, fair and fine. But if it's an issue-based statement, which will require contributions, then of course I want to suggest that members avail copies so they'll be able to contribute. Otherwise, you can't just be reading from your phone. It's most unorthodox.
It's already.
So I was thinking that if it's issues-based, if it's an issue-based.
Honourable members, please let's listen to the leader. I mean, there's a lot of.
That's what I was saying, that if it is a commemorative statement, it could be taken. If, on the other hand, it's an issue-based statement, then I would please require of you to let members have copies to study and then be able to make informed contributions to that. Reading from your phone, certainly, when members don't have a copy of the text, certainly is not the best.
Mr. Speaker, it's commemorative. I did share the copies, but because it wasn't called, I'm sure members don't have it. But I can have it sent down in 5 minutes.
Is it for
commemorative?
Today? Is it today? Which day does it fall? Which day does it fall?
Monday.
Coming Monday.
No, it fell on Monday, and it was admitted for Tuesday, but it was not called. But I still appeal that because it's relevant, I be allowed to read the statement, and so I'm seeking guidance from you to give me 5 minutes to have members receive copies, and then I can read it.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's another one.
Mr. Speaker, if there's another one, you can take that one.
There's another one.
And let her go and make copies. Especially if it's a commemorative statement that may cease to have relevance by the close of the week. Then she needs to make it. But if you could retrieve it and serve copies to members.
Is Honorable Abdallah Idi here? Abdallah Idi, is he here? Well. So, honourable member for Southon, I'm giving you my copy. You may read.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make a statement as we commemorate this extremely important International Mother Language Day. Mr. Speaker, 21st February of every year is designated as International Mother Language Day, an initiative of Bangladesh, then East Pakistan, in remembrance of the day the people of Bangladesh fought for recognition of the Bangla language. This day seeks to promote awareness of linguistic, cultural diversity, and multilingualism around the world. The International Mother Language Day was first proclaimed by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, on November 17, 1999, and formally acknowledged by the United Nations General Assembly with the approval of the United Nations Resolution 56/262 in 2002. Mother Language Day is part of broader initiatives to promote the preservation and protection of all languages used by the people of the world, as adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on the 16th of May 2007 in UN Resolution 61/266. Mr. Speaker, the importance of languages and multilingualism in enhancing inclusion is highlighted on Mother Language Day. This corresponds with the Sustainable Development Goals, emphasizing on leaving no one behind, and specifically Goal 4 and 6, which seeks to ensure that all youth and a substantial proportion of adults, both men and women, achieve literacy and numeracy. Mr. Speaker, the theme for this year's celebration, using technology for multilingual learning, challenges and opportunities. The theme addresses the potential role of technology to advance multilingual education and support the development of quality teaching and learning for all. Several studies reveal that learning is most effective when the instruction is received first in the language the learner knows best. Thus, access to education in one's mother tongue will lay the foundation for achievement of other sustainable development goals. Technology has the potential and avails itself to address some of today's most pressing educational concerns and may speed efforts to ensure equitable and inclusive lifelong learning opportunities for all if governed by the key concepts of inclusion and quality. A lot of progress has been made since the invention of mobile phones. Today, ever, chi, ga, alphabets are available on technology. This will ultimately advance the journey to equitable multilingual education if we improve on connectivity. Mr. Speaker, according to a recent UNICEF, World Bank and OECD survey of 143 countries, national education responses to COVID-19 school closures, 96% of developed countries provided remote learning using online platforms for at least one educational level, compared to just 58% of developing countries. In developing countries, the majority of countries reported using broadcast media, such as television and radio, to enhance learning continuity. Ghana is home to more than 46 different languages, out of which only 11 languages are taught in schools and a few used on television and radio. Ghana, like many other African countries, is striving to create an effective language strategy in education. Article 39(3) of the 1992 Constitution stipulates that the state shall foster the development of Ghanaian languages and thrive in Ghanaian culture. In 2006, the African Union established the African Academy of Languages, ACALAN, a specialized agency charged with the promotion and development of African languages as a means for fostering continental integration, peace, and development. ACALAN is working with and on vehicular cross-border languages like Hausa, Ewe, Wolof, among others. In June 2006, a national literacy task force was formed by Ghana's Ministry of Education to develop and implement national literacy acceleration program with support from USAID. This program aims to ensure that all children in kindergarten to grade 3 have quality literacy materials, effective instructions, and public support to learn to read and write in their mother tongue and English. Currently, Ghana's language policy mandates the use of the child's LI mother tongue as the language of instruction from kindergarten through to primary 3, with English as the second one. Mr. Speaker, research has shown this policy is often not adhered to. Evidence abounds that there is lack of teacher proficiency in the local languages of instruction. A survey conducted by Family Health International, FHI 360 in 2008, sampling 7,105 schools, revealed that only 57% of the schools employed teachers for kindergarten to primary 3 that spoke the designated language of instruction. According to UNESCO, Mr. Speaker, every 2 weeks, a language vanishes, carrying with it a whole cultural and intellectual history. At least 43% of the world's estimated 6,000 languages are endangered, and only a few hundred languages have been accepted into educational institutions and the public sphere, with fewer than 100 being utilized in the digital world. Mr. Speaker, the language we speak embodies who we are, just as the food we eat and the cloth we wear. Language is one key element that defines our culture. Language plays an increasingly important role in development, not only in ensuring cultural diversity and intercultural dialogue, but also in strengthening cooperation and achieving quality education for all. Furthermore, it promotes building of inclusive societies and preserving cultural heritage and in mobilizing socio-cultural groups for sustainable development. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the narrative is very different now, since the current generation of youngsters, particularly those living in urban areas, are unable to speak or comprehend their own mother tongues. Parents have resorted to the use of English to train their children, even at home. It is sad to ask a child such basic questions in his or her mother tongue, with the child not being able to respond. Mr. Speaker, should we watch as a generation of Ghanaians lose not just their identity, but also their culture, traditional values, and collective memory? Mr. Speaker, I can tell many of my colleagues in here are guilty. I speak 4 Ghanaian languages, and there are some colleagues who cannot respond to their own languages. I challenge them to do better. Mr. Speaker, I therefore urge all members and stakeholders to recognize the importance of our mother tongue, which is our pride as a nation, and develop a clear and effective school policy to enhance understanding of children in our schools. And may we have the tolerance to appreciate each other's language. Respectfully, Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and may the good Lord bless our homeland Ghana.
Yeah.
Very well, thank you. Yes, Honorable Dr. Tiria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very important and timely subject that my honorable colleague has introduced, and it is important to add my voice to it. We are products of culture, whether we like it or not. And that is why we eat what we eat, we wear what we wear. It's unfortunate that through colonialism and other factors of social change, our culture has been significantly altered. And we have also followed through by despising what is truly ours and actually picking up on other cultures that are not consistent with our climate, our work culture, and some other aspects of who we are truly our identity. But the key issue of language is principle, because language is not only a process of speaking a particular dialect, but it comes with all the norms of culture, gratitude, significance, and symbolism that are important to really have that language to make meaning. For instance, the Akan term for I'm happy, which in English is really abstract. I'm happy, what do you see? But when an Akan says, Menia Jipa, it says that my eyes are bulging out. My eyes are really sparkling. So the essence of that is critical in terms of really enjoying our food, enjoying our dances and others. But when you come to the education arena, somehow as a result of urbanization, we are getting uprooted from who we are. And as my able colleague alluded to, we have parents who are training their children with English. International research shows that children who study in their mother tongue really do well, because what is familiar at home is what they deal with. And as a result of that, we adopted within our education system for children to go up to P3 before they take English. So every child who goes to school will study one of the 11 agreed local languages that we use in Ghana. However, the issue is not straightforward, because there are people who may come from the Volta region and maybe others, but as they live here in Accra, they don't speak their language at home, and that the street language is different from the home language. Consequently, what should they learn in order for them to go to school? There are schools in Accra where the community is such that they have to study Apunchi, or they have to study Ewe. Instead of doing that, everybody will lump them together. This is Accra. It doesn't work like that. So it is still an effort to set meaning, in which we continue to conduct research to ensure that our mother tongue is key. In fact, Ghanaians around the world, where they have churches, research has shown that when they sing our local Ghanaian gospel songs, it touches their heart than when they sing Western hymns and so forth. So essentially, language is key. But how we do that in terms of including it in our education system, so that our children learn fast, so that they learn resourcefully, because when we are dealing with these language issues, we are dealing with equipment. What is the Ghana word for computer? What is the ever word for CPU? And so forth. I mean, it's a very difficult situation that we are confronted with. So how do we make the choices? I would think that what we need to do is continuously engage in research, so that we reduce the places, the spaces we have, because there are gaps between what we identify as completely indigenous to the Ghanaian and what is foreign and we are incorporating. We don't want to incorporate everything wholesale. Our language should be able to accommodate other nuances from other cultures. But how do we do this in such a way that actually, even in our educational system, we can incorporate them? For this, I'm known for saying that we have an inconclusive conclusion. And Mr. Speaker, this is one of the matters that rests on an inconclusive conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm come to Sola.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this statement that I would describe as a wonderful one. Mr. Speaker, let me thank the Honourable Member, Honourable Jifa, for bringing us to light. Speaking the mother language in the speaker is very key in bringing up our children. In the statement, the honorable member mentioned that language, the way we dress, what we eat, and how we speak tells everything about us. And so, Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to recognize that in our houses as members of parliament, we should learn to speak our own language to our children. It has become a kind of pride for some people to think that once I speak English to my children, that tells the class I belong to. Mr. Speaker, it is completely wrong. Well, people may judge me wrongly, but for me, I think that as a person that comes from the north, especially as a Breford, the language that I speak in the speaker is called Breford. But just because we don't speak our local languages to our children, they even grow up and they are not able to tell the tribe they belong to. It is very common, especially with my people. In fact, I feel very guilty to say this. I speak Breford, but Breford comes from the Dagate or the Dagari language. And so most of our people, when they travel out and they ask them what tribe they belong to, they say, oh, I'm a Daga or I'm a Dagate. And even to the extent that they name their children after their landlords. You would meet a typical Breford man, ask for the name, and you say, my name is Kwachi, or I'm Bwachi. Yes, Abronye, I cannot authenticate that. But just last week, there was a video circulating that Abronye is a Northerner, but his name is Kwame Bafo. And if it is true that they said Mr. Abronye is a Northerner, and he's called Kwame Bafo, how will you describe this? So, Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to tell those who come down south to work, especially the Breford people, the Dagabes, who come down south, so those who are in Western region, they name their children Ajewa, Amamansa, Abnadonko. All those names, you do not even know the meaning. Mr. Speaker, I am called Dare. When I was born, I was named Dare. And if you get to my area, once you hear the name Dare, you know that the person, where we believe in reincarnation, you know that the person was born after the mother lost a previous child. If you get to my community, if you hear the name Say, it tells you that the person is a first male born of the family. If you hear the name Sansan, it tells you that the person is a second male born of the family. In fact, we grew up to meet these things, but they are gradually fading out. I don't know whether that is modernity, or whether that is education, or is Christianity. We have some homes that they think that if you are praying and you pray in Ashanti or English, that is when your prayers will be answered. Mr. Speaker, it is time for us to start educating our families. It is time for us to start letting our people know that where we come from, that is where we come from. We didn't choose to be from the north. We didn't choose to be Gonjas. We didn't choose to be Dagabes. We didn't choose to be Brefords. And so wherever you find yourself, let your identity be known. We can only do this by letting our children learning this in our schools. And so there was an NGO in my district, Mr. Speaker, called IBIS. I think now Oxfam also. They introduced this complementary basic education. In fact, Mr. Speaker, it helped a lot. People who went through that system did not suffer when they got to the upper classes. And so, Mr. Speaker, I thank the honorable member for bringing this up, but let me once again remind the Breford people that wherever they are, they should let people know that they speak the language Breford. If you are a Dagao, wherever you are, speak your Dagati to your children. Don't speak Chi to them. Don't speak Akan to them. It is good we learn these languages, but don't let the Akan be the main language at home. Don't let English be the main language at home. Speak the Dagari to your children. Speak the Breford to your children. Speak Gonja to your children. I have met Gonjas whose children cannot speak. They cannot even say entree. If you greet an entree, they respond in English. It is bad. Oh, in your for your order. Mr. Speaker, what I said just meant that I speak a lot of Breford. And I'm very proud. Wherever I get to, I let people know where I belong to. You see my travel marks, it tells you that I belong to a community. I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Yes, let me come to Kwadaso.
Honorable Speaker, it's a Kwadaso, yeah.
Yes, I invited Kwadaso.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement under consideration. Honorable Speaker, it is true that language is the soul of a society. Language is the soul of a nation. Mr. Speaker, I've been hearing arguments, positions, and debates regarding the adoption of a local language in terms of educating our children. And I want to place on record that when it comes to language, you can be educated by the use of your local language, but that doesn't guarantee that you are going to be successful regarding your academic pursuits. What defines largely one's academic progress and success is the level of the person's intelligence quotient. It is also true that local dialect or local language helps better in terms of academic achievements as compared to borrowed languages. But if you look into the literature, especially developmental theories, you realize that the acquisition of any language can be done easily by children, especially from 3 years and beyond. So if at that time the environment around you speaks frequently the language, and also in terms of the quality of that particular language, every child anywhere can acquire any language. So for me, what we need to focus more on is the quality of the language and the frequency and intensity of its usage. We can adopt a local language for our educational enterprise, but if that language is not taught well, it will be much ado about nothing. You go to Germany, they use their local language. You go to US, go to UK, use the local language. But in that environment, you realize that in terms of performance and ability, it is not the same. It is what the environment does to promote learning, teaching, that matters most. So when I hear this argument, I kind of a bit worried. So my position is that let us ensure that any language that we adopt, that language is taught well. That's because you agree with me that when you even take the English language, it is not all the English teachers who even teach well. Examples are there in terms of diction of words, pronunciation and all that. I think that some of our English teachers, and even those who teach the local languages, need to be taught again. Because at times you travel outside, and how even pronounce words is even suspect. Let us be very careful with this. My honorable friend, Dr. Tevia, will agree with me that language can be absorbed well when it is taught well and understood well. When I was doing my PhD, I remember that the Dean of Faculty of Education, Professor Rudolf Tippelt, in a meeting with scholars from Cambridge, Germany at that time decided that it was better for them to even promote the learning of English in their country, because research that they had done suggested that all those who had won the Nobel Prizes in the sciences got them when they studied in the US of A. And at that time, they had consciously agreed that they need to promote the English language. For me, that is very fundamental. And if you have a literature in a particular local dialect, in this day and age, the question is, how many people can even read and understand it? Let me give Germany, for example. How many people speak German? So you can have a scientific paper in a German journal. The question is, how many people can even appreciate that language? But if you have English, for example, you are guaranteed that a lot of people are going to read and appreciate your work. That is what matters more. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want us to be very careful in terms of the language we want to adopt. And we want to do so, we must make sure that all the enabling facilities that we need to promote that local language is there before we make that move. On that note, I want to thank you for the opportunity to add my voice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to also commend my colleague, MP for Ketu South. Mr. Speaker, if we look at the subjects we are discussing now, that is using the local language to teach our children in school, I support this assertion because currently, if we look at what is going on in our various communities, we see that everybody is trying to communicate with their kids in the English language. But growing up, when we used local language, because most of my parents didn't have the opportunity to have formal education. So the only means of communication was the local language. And that was a background that helped me to also learn other languages in Ghana. And I believe that also when the local languages are used at the basic schools as part of the teaching methodologies, it helps the children to really appreciate what is being taught. Because what they know, if you give them the opportunity, they can also produce or even recite whatever has been taught them. When you go to our schools, even Sunday school these days, every Sunday school teacher is using English language. The children come home and they are not able to even tell you whatever they were being taught at Sunday school. So I want members of parliament to support this idea. Let us come together, and we should use ourselves as an example first, because we should start this practice. If we want the local language to be used at school, then we should also insist that our children in our homes also begin to communicate with them with it. This is what can give us the opportunity to also stand on it and even demand that the schools should also do so. So how would we promote that the schools should be using the local language, but when they come home, we are speaking English, not even French. We are surrounded by Francophone countries, but everybody wants his kids to speak English. And now, because we are using English also, even the values and the cultures that we have, and even the folklores, the idioms, the proverbs that are so rich and gives us some kind of knowledge, we learn so many things from it, we are not able to impact it to our kids. So I want us to, as members of parliament, support this statement and also support education. I saw the education minister here, and I believe that what is being discussed here, he would also take it up, so that at least Ghana, when we want to promote ourselves in terms of development, it is not only, we cannot only develop when we speak English language.
we can also develop when we speak our local language, and we make it something that the case is so imbibed in them. Mr. Speaker, I normally watch most of my senior MPs speak impeccable English, and one thing I always ask myself, did these people start learning speak this English when they were very young or in their formative stage? And I would, with your permission, take this opportunity to mention someone like my senior majority leader. When you find out from him, he will tell you that maybe from his formative years, probably where he stood, at that point, they blended the local language and the English language, and that is what has given him the strong stance now that from the basis of local language, he has developed to be, if it's giving him that kind of enriched vocabs that is helping the activity, the debates, and then the works of Parliament. So I would want to once again thank the maker of the statement, and also thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let me come to Trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement. Mr. Speaker, the mother tongue is mostly referred to as one's first tongue or first language or native language. Mr. Speaker, it is also very important for one to seize the opportunity to learn several languages. Mr. Speaker, the mother tongue of a child, in fact, if the child gets used to it so well, determines the child's personality, his social and cultural identity. The moment the child speaks, for instance, an Epiapim who speaks the mother tongue, you know exactly where he or she is coming from. But you know some cultural identity and personality and behaviors are attached to areas that we all come from. Therefore, it's very important that we do our best to get our children and the society pick their mother tongue from the onset. Mr. Speaker, there's a huge challenge anyway as to when should we start teaching the child on a second language. In fact, I know the Ministry of Education and GES has had a series of theories as to at what stage, at what age, at what level should we move the child into or onto a second language different from the mother tongue. But Mr. Speaker, the mother tongue of a child from the beginning, day zero, when the child becomes so used to it, is able to allow the child to develop some skills and some literacy capacities, some thinking, critical thinking skills, and some critical literacy capacity. With such baseline, the child is able to go up when you introduce the child onto the second language. In fact, if the child learns the phonology so well of his mother tongue from the beginning, it's easier for that child to move on anytime at all you want to add any other additional language to the child. Mr. Speaker, it builds the self-esteem of the child as well. You know, the child builds confidence. At the home, he understands the local language, he picks it so well, he's able to speak to it, he's able to translate it, he's so confident about that language. He carries that ability upwards. And anytime at all he or she gets a good teacher who wants to translate or give meaning of some words of the second language through his or her mother tongue, it becomes so easier. Mr. Speaker, these days where it's like from the word go, we want our children to speak the English language, and at the end of the day, they forget about their mother tongue, their local language. It becomes even difficult talking to our children about our cultural practices and our traditional setting. Mr. Speaker, you are so told from your infancy that water bodies in your own language, water bodies are critical bodies for mankind. Mr. Speaker, you are told from your own mother language that there is a mami water in that water body that will threaten you when you cross the water body with sandals. You are told you cannot get closer to maybe defecate or urinate close to a water body. And it is all in your mother tongue, and it is so heavy to the point that it brings you to the reality. And at the end of the day, you become so used to the traditional setting and the cultural setting that you live in. Let us encourage our children and let's teach them our mother language. Let's teach them the local language, and let's encourage them to learn more local languages. It is good to be a multilingual in our local language. Wherever you find yourself, you speak the language and you are okay.
Like you.
Honorable Okujeto, I know, understand this matter so well. I know he understands what I'm talking about so well. That there are instances where he uses fluency in the Akan language to his own benefit. There are instances where you mention the language so well and you pronounce them so well and you are attracted to the person when you need even some support. Mr. Speaker, so this cultural identification is very important, and I commend the maker of the statement. And I encourage all of us that if we want the child to have a critical thinking ability, the child to appreciate our culture and traditional setting, the child to be able to upgrade onto the next stage of learning other languages, you need the basic line, which is the mother tongue, referred to as the first language. And I believe when we do that, this country will move forward. I thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement made, and I thank my sister for drawing our attention to it, that those of us who are Gwans, those of us who are other Gwans and Gans, Akans, the Dangatis, the Tokolis, and whatever, don't let us shy away from our language. The others, we don't have to shy away from their language. Let's speak it and identify ourselves to it. And I believe that through that, we'll be able to share away this colonization, whether it is neo-colonization or pro-colonization. We'll be able to put them behind us and see ourselves as Ghanaians identified as such. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Moses, how many languages do you speak?
Mr. Speaker, I speak 5.
5 languages?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. 5 local languages.
I see. You've spoken today. Let me give the opportunity to...
Indeed, he has spoken today, and he was joining you, Mr. Speaker, in the birthday mood, and I'm happy you have given me opportunity to join in that mood. I want to start, Mr. Speaker, by first thanking the maker of this statement. It is such an important statement that all of us must be very much interested in. Indeed, it reminds us that indigenous language is very key to building of values. And if you go to countries that have been able to develop and develop well, it's because they have focused a lot more in the early days of a child's development to teach that child values. And these values are taught in the local language because there is so much truth, there's so much respect, Mr. Speaker, in the local languages. That is why many have said that in those days, our chiefs, when they swear before their subjects, they take the oath, they respect that oath more than what we do in our orthodox or traditional courts, where we are given the Bibles or we are given the cross and what have you, and we swear to speak nothing but the truth in the English language. So talking about building and preserving our indigenous languages, Mr. Speaker, it will go a long way to help us when we want to transfer those good values we are referencing here today by many speakers who have spoken ahead of me. Indigenous language will help us to do that. Talk about preservation of our heritage and our culture. Language and the indigenous language group is what can help us maintain it, so that there will be no dilution. Because how we call lemon or lime in my language will be different from how it is called in another language. But once it is good to learn that other language, it is very important, Mr. Speaker, if you want to preserve basic things that has brought about growth or that can bring about further growth in our various communities, to try and make sure that indigenous languages are encouraged, at least in the first few years of child's development. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I have asked a question on this floor, and I'm waiting for the Education Minister for it to be scheduled for him to come and answer, even whether we have a policy in terms of posting of teachers in some specialized areas, including language. You find instances where teachers who have trained in, say, Ewe language get posted and transferred to communities where they are not learning Ewe. And they are forced to teach other subjects other than the language they have studied. Meanwhile, others are sent to the region or to Volta region who also learn other languages, maybe Ga language. They get posted to Volta region. How will they impact positively in, say, a primary school? And I wasn't surprised when the government, not too long ago, have to issue a statement that the teachers who train in Ga, who got posted outside of the Ga area, should get in touch in his office to see how they can liaise with the education authority for some kind of reposting. Our Ghana Education Service and Ministry of Education have to develop a policy, Mr. Speaker, for posting this category of teachers. But coming back really to the issue of indigenous languages, Mr. Speaker, it helps us to communicate effectively. Mr. Speaker, it helps us to share.
Honorable Kofi, before you continue and conclude, let me bring the House attention to the fact that it is 2 o'clock and we are going beyond the normal time. So please indulge me that I direct the House to move beyond the normal time. So we may go on and conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be concluding very soon. Today is Friday, and as usual, you know, Friday bombs is our day. So when we get the opportunity, we end up flying beyond. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying earlier, can imagine how the freeing of the airwaves and the introduction of the local languages in our communication has allowed a lot more ideas to be expressed by every other person. In the past, when it was so limited, you go to a Deba, and when you are speaking a language that is foreign to them, only few persons will be expressing themselves. Mr. Speaker, immediately you allow them that you can speak a language of your choice. You find a lot more hands showing up. And sometimes that is when the best of ideas comes out to enable policy formulation. So I want to really thank the maker of the statement that he's taking the trouble to identify this day and has made this statement that will draw all of us attention to encourage our persons and to encourage especially the Ministry of Education to engage their agencies, because they are involved in the formative age of the development of the young ones, to form policies that will allow posting of teachers to encourage the L1 teaching in our very basic schools. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity given me to contribute to this very important statement made by our colleague from K2SAP. Thank you.
Honorable Dami Fiamako, you are okay for the day. Before I come to leadership, Honorable Minister for Education, I hope you pass a word on it. Very well. So let me hear my senior member first, before I'll come to New Biase and no.
Right, Honorable Speaker, many thanks for giving me the opportunity to say a few words by way of a contribution to this very important statement. Indeed, language is the outward expression of our socio-cultural being. And Honorable Speaker, if you pay attention to Article 39(3) of our Constitution, and with your kind permission, I'd like to read. The Constitution says, the state shall foster the development of Ghanaian languages and pride in their Ghanaian culture. It seems to me that what my sister is trying to urge upon has been given a constitutional elevation. And at no point in time should we do anything to devalue what we stand for. And it is indeed the fact that it is your language that defines your identity. So this is what is in our Constitution. But the injunction here is that the state shall foster the development of Ghanaian languages and pride in Ghanaian culture. I wish to see a very solid paper on the way of the fostering, and that will do us a lot of good. Honorable Speaker, again, if you pay regard to Article 35, 5 of the Constitution, and it provides as follows. Honorable Speaker, just a second. Let me be very sure what I'm trying to urge upon. Yes, 35(5). The state shall actively promote the integration of the peoples of Ghana and prohibit discrimination and prejudice on the grounds of place of origin, circumstances of birth, ethnic origin, gender, religion, creed, or other beliefs. Honorable Speaker, what this thing also means is that it is important that in trying to promote our language, it should not promote disunity, so that the language of one particular tribe becomes superior to another tribe. A language defines ethnicity in a way, but it is the thinking of the framers of the Constitution that the language of a people should not promote disunity. As a matter of fact, our distinction should not be a mark of disunity. So, Honorable Speaker, you have situations of somebody saying, I'm an African, I'm from West Africa, I'm a Ghanaian, I'm from Ashanti, the Eastern region. Above all, I'm an Asante, a Ga, Dagomba, and the rest of it. It is for one thing, it should all promote our Ghanaianness. A lot of philosophy is embedded in our language. That is a fact. If you take some of our proverbs, one particular proverb says that And was here for talking about. That is to say that if you say you are an Akan, then you shouldn't be associated with anything shameful or disgraceful. Philosophy and wisdom is also part of our language systems. And we should go there and learn the origins of our language and the meanings of our language and the proverbs of our people to improve our own, ethos and ethics and our governance systems. Honorable Speaker, I was even surprised to see in our standing orders, Order 47, that we are not under any compulsion to speak language alone in this house. And let me quote, with respect, let me quote Order 47. The proceedings of Parliament shall ordinarily be conducted in the English language, except that a member may exercise the option to address the House in either Akan, Nzima, Ga, Ewe, Hausa, Dagbani, Dagari, or in any other local language, provided facilities exist in the House for its interpretation. I'm afraid I've been here for some time now. I do not see any facilities that we have so that somebody can make a statement in Ewe, but by the facilities, we always understand it also in our local dialect. I think if we should have an arrangement like that, it will be very good for this nation. And what is the minister saying? I've not finished.
It's an Akan language.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to correct my statement already?
Mr. Speaker, I want to make a small correction. When he was speaking, he listed and made a list of languages which were amongst them. I heard Akan and others, and then he proceeded to add Nzima as if Nzima were a different language from Akan. I'm saying that Nzima is an Akan language. The Akan language is a spectrum ranging from Akwakem, Chi, to Baoulé, Enin, and Sanwi in La Côte d'Ivoire. So Nzima is an Akan language. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my very good brother, versatile lawyer. But I was only quoting the standing orders. And if there's a need to bring some corrections to bear on it, then I think it is from the standing orders, Order 47. So, Honorable Speaker, this statement is very apt and opportune. There's a necessity to promote our own, but there is a problem. That given the international nature of our existence, and you want to go and do a serious MBA outside, or there's an international conference in which essentially is the English language that I want to promote, or I want to go and do a PhD in mathematics, I'm afraid what we'll be looking at will be a huge challenge. That would you want to say that your whole dissertation that you want to write it in the, say, the Cree language for your professor of mathematics who is a Japanese to come to terms with that. So when we want to deal internationally, there are complications. And this is where we have to look at. Most of the gadgets that we use in the world now, they are translated in English. And hardly would you find that they want to give it in a local, interpretation. So locally, that is what we should do. But when we veer into the international arena, we will be checkmated because our language will not find favor with the international community. So my very good sister from Ketu South, the great Ketu South, I think you are a strong thinking being and you brought a lot of thinking to this chamber. this Friday. I'm grateful to you and highly commend you for doing justice to the topic. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Defiamapo. Hey. You said you are saying 2 words.
Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Speaker, may I further fortify the position of my senior brother, the Honorable Atachia, with another constitutional provision. Mr. Speaker, I refer to Articles 26, Surplus 1 of the Constitution, as well as Articles 28, Surplus 1 and Surplus C, to say that indeed, as a country, we are enjoined by the Constitution to make provision for the development of our mother tongue or our native language. But, Mr. Speaker, you know that language is about proficiency. Mr. Speaker, the records will bear that as far back as 1858, it took Germans who traveled to our native land to master our language and develop alphabets for the language, and actually translated the language, the Bible, into our language. And in 1858, I can make mention of a German Reverend Father called Schlegel, who was then the head of the Bremen mission, and they were based in the now Volta region. They translated the Bible into Ewe. Whilst they were doing that in the Volta region, there was another German called Johann Christoller, and so other Ghanaians like the then David Asante, Keteku. They also mastered the Twi language and translated the Bible. So language is about mastery and display. Indeed, another Ebe, Reverend Ephraim Amu, he wrote in Twi, even though he was an Ebe, because of language. So as much as I agree that we should take steps to help to develop and teach our children in our mother tongue, we must all master the ability to languages. I speak 7 local languages. I speak 7. Naji Hausa, York, myself, Madonna Ngomba, Uyo Bali. I speak a Numbusu, and I was educated in Cape Coast, in Jamaica Fante, Mitufante. You know, Mr. Speaker. So, and I speak a bit of French. Je parle français un peu. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree that mother tongue is very important. But you see, it is, look, I think language is one of the reasons why Ghana as a country, we are so cohesive. We are so bonded together. Because we are so intertwined that we can back at each other, but we may never get to a point where we have to throw cudgels at one another because of language, because of how culturally we are intertwined. Ewe is spoken in the Volta region, yes, predominantly, but so is Akan, so is Twi. So is Ewe spoken in the eastern region, predominantly. So is this spoken in Ashanti. And I'm going to meet my Ewe people as far away as in Bono, as in the northern region, as in Bole. And I've heard people speak Ewutu in my constituency. There are Ewutu people in my constituency who are now like indigenous. They've settled in the Volta region. They are in Germany. They are in Agodake. They are in Chanakwe. They are fisher folks. It is not today that they will go back to Efutu or Winneba. So I agree that it is important that as a mother tongue we develop our languages and teach our children. Mr. Speaker, the record will also bear me out that I have moved this house that we as a country, we should be taking off the list of countries that are classified to submit proof of English as a proficiency in the English language. We have mastered speaking English. We have demonstrated the ability to communicate and write English excellently like the Englishman. And we have attained the status of native speakers. Ghanaian scholars in academia have demonstrated and presented theses at the highest level in academia. So, Mr. Speaker, with these words, I want to commend my sister for bringing this matter to the attention of the House and the country. I thank you.
Yes, let us come to leadership. Leadership, before probably I'll ask the minister for. Minister, let's hear you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important topic. Mr. Speaker, the issue of language and transmission of culture is well documented. That language forms the basis of cultural transmission. And without the language, the culture may die off. I think, Mr. Speaker, that is not in doubt around the world. In developing countries, in other places where they don't speak the predominant French, English, or German, or Portuguese. What we struggle with, rather, is how you balance the issue of cultural transmission and your ability to also compete globally. We are here from different ethnic groups, and how we bond together here is unfortunately through a foreign language, which all of us are proficient in. The challenge you have is that there are parents who believe that their children cannot master the local language, their native tongue, and English at the same time. So we have parents in our country here who refuse to even speak their native tongue to their children, which I believe is unfortunate. Research has shown that a child's brain is like a sponge. They can master both languages without any difficulty. In our school system, we need to find a way to ensure we can produce bilingual Ghanaians, trilingual Ghanaians, people who may speak more than one language, and be able to compete globally at the same time. We are in discussion, for example, with Cambridge, the developers of the Cambridge education model, that it's important that Ghanaian children who go to Cambridge schools get the opportunity to study a Ghanaian language. Because we cannot train Ghanaian children to become foreigners in their own country. When you come to our public education system, it's also imperative that we begin to find a way to ensure that the children will master English language and be able to compete, and at the same time, maintain their native language. You see, we have not found a way to master the English language, and consequently, sometimes we use that as an excuse to say that because we can't master the English, therefore the children should be taught in their language. We can do both. If you look at research by Krasner, a very important authority on language, he says that there's a difference between language learning and language acquisition. You can learn a language and you can also acquire a language. You can help children acquire the English language in no time, and then they begin to master the grammar of it through language learning. That and ensuring that we understand the principles of English language development, and we understand the principles of acquiring English as a second language, and beginning to ensure that we don't teach our children English as if we are teaching British kids, and that we begin to master the art and science of second language acquisition, enable our children to master foreign language and master their own languages at the same time. This is the opportunity we have as a nation. This is the challenge we have to confront as a nation, so that no Ghanaian children is made by their parents to forego their native tongue because they believe that with the native tongue they cannot speak English well. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity, and this is what the Ministry of Education is looking at, ways that we can ensure that Ghanaian children are fluent in their native tongues and at the same time proficient in English. And when we do it well, even master French at the same time, so we can truly have a society that has its foundation in its culture, but can also compete globally with anyone around the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this. I'm grateful to my honorable colleague from Ketu South for making this statement. Thank you.
Well. Honorable Kujeto, Honorable Leader, may we hear your brief comment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement, which has been very eloquently and competently delivered by the Mamaga herself, the Honorable Ablaji Fagomashi of Ketu South. Mr. Speaker, the issue of promoting the study of our mother tongue language, one that is so crucial. We are talking about an identity. We are talking about a culture. We are talking about our heritage. There are some societies that have been wiped out totally because they could not protect and promote the speaking of their own language. And as a country, one of the things going for us, which we are celebrated for globally, is that we have so many languages, over 50 ethnic groups, but we are able to tolerate, to respect everybody's language. We intermarry, we school together, and we are so melted, we bond, and we are able to communicate with each other. We take it for granted in this country, but not in many other places. It is so bad elsewhere that it even enters their politics, and they cannot even have, democratic elections. They cannot have stability. So we need to continue to protect what is so unique about Ghana. However, as the maker of the statement has said, we face some growing threat where some languages risk going extinct, where in our educational system, as we will recall what happened about 2 years ago, where in Greater Accra, the Ga chiefs were struggling to have language teachers in some of the schools in the Greater Accra region. Of course, because of how cosmopolitan the capital has become and how we have had a melting pot situation. But listening to the Minister, the Honorable Minister for Education, it's clear that language policy remains intact and remains a priority of government. And I commend the Speaker for that. I commend the Minister, Mr. Speaker, for that assurance and for the effort that they are making, not only to promote the study of the mother tongue, but also to make sure that we become bilateral and multilingual. We know that we are surrounded by French-speaking countries, Togo, Burkina Faso, Benin, and beyond Ivory Coast. And Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons why a lot of Ghanaians are not making it to a lot of international appointments in various multilateral organizations is because of our one language policy. If we promote bilateral or multilingualism, we will be able to occupy a lot more of these positions. Because you always see, the last time we visited The Hague, you see that our Francophone colleagues, they have virtually filled all the positions in The Hague. And they tell us that your people are very competent, very qualified, very sharp, outstanding professionals. But the only thing that disqualifies them is that they are not multilingual or they are not bilingual. It's only English. So I'm glad that the Honorable Minister has given assurance. I know that the French Embassy has some initiatives that they are rolling out, and I think that we should get closer to them to see how they can scale up so we can train more of our French teachers. And even Spanish is becoming very important, you know, Spanish, Arabic, Swahili. I think that if we do that, we'll be better equipping the next generation. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, let me indicate that research has shown that when children are taught in their mother tongue from preschool to P4, they do better. The research is so unimpeachable. And indeed, since 1953, UNESCO has championed this because of research. They even the research links the lack of training our children in their mother tongue to high dropout rates. That children who drop out, who lose interest, whether it is in math, in science, it is because they are not being taught in their mother tongue. So they don't understand and they are not able to cope. And that is why since 1953, UNESCO has been championing this mother tongue policy. So it's a very, very important statement that the Honorable Ablaji Fagomashi has made, and it should encourage all of us in our homes. Yeah, you meet some parents and they are proud to say that, oh, as of my child, you know, he speaks no local language, and we think that, you know, it's something to be celebrated, or it shows that the children are probably exotic. It's rather a minus, and we should encourage many more. Even as we intermarry, we can still teach. It shouldn't be a disadvantage. We should still encourage our children to learn the languages of fathers and that of their mothers. I think mothers do well generally in passing on the language, but it's we the fathers who are the worst culprits. We never really have. We don't make the time, I should say, to train our children in our mother tongue. So, Mr. Speaker, a very important statement. We should keep the unity of our country, how we tolerate each other, and we should continue to promote the diversity. It's beautiful. It's always great to be diverse. It's rather strength in diversity. It is not a disadvantage, and we should keep promoting the mother tongue. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Finally, let me come to you.
Mr. Speaker, I have heard my colleagues and their useful comments on this all-important matter. I do not intend to add on to the superfluity of the matter which is already before us. I associate myself wholly with all the sentiment expressed, particularly the comment by the available minority leader, and I would want the records of this House to adopt same as though they were mine. Having said this, Mr. Speaker, I shall thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, we have brought statement time to a close, and I'll come to leadership for direction.
Mr. Speaker, under normal circumstances, I would say that there is no further competent parliamentary business on the floor for consideration. But you had earlier given an indication based on an application by my respected colleague, Honorable Klucha Aveji, which application was mounted on the back of my earlier concerns about some misreportage. And he rather wanted us to go into the records so that when we are taking a decision, we know we are taking a decision based on evidence. Well, I initially disagreed with him because I thought that he should hold my integrity high as having done my own works. But that notwithstanding, for the records, you ruled and I respected that. I have in my hands, and Mr. Speaker, I believe I first give you the official report, the draft from Hansard, for you to also read. And it is clear and very unambiguous, and I'll give him copy too for him to read, that I never said that we need e-levy to evacuate Ghanaians from Ukraine. I never said that. And on that score, and to be fair to me and colleagues who may suffer from such reportage, Mr. Speaker, I beg to crave your indulgence to direct that Joy FM forthwith pulls down the story. Because, Mr. Speaker, the thing is still on their website. I keep receiving text messages and calls. The social media language will say it's gone viral. And the impression being created is that Afenyo Makin perhaps said something without thinking through and relating e-levy to the evacuation of Ghanaians who may be suffering as a result of this Ukraine-Russian war. I demand it as of right. I respect the multimedia platform, but I think on this occasion, the conduct of whoever put it there, particularly its reporter from Parliament, must be dealt with. So, Mr. Speaker, I humbly pray that an order be made by you for them to pull down the story and render an unqualified apology, because it's not only their portal, people respect Joy FM, and many news portals are picking it and sharing. Individuals are sharing it on their social media handle without even recourse to me. And this morning, I mentioned Nanaba Namwa as one of those who has fallen victim to this mischief, and she is also proceeding with mischief. And it must not happen. It could be somebody tomorrow. We must say that free speech must not be taken for granted. Mr. Speaker, I so humbly submit.
Anyway, let me hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think that your directive is for leadership to go into the records, look at the Hansard and then the video. And that is what, but leadership, we have not met to review the Hansard and the video. My colleague is having the Hansard. Other people are having the video. So I think that it will be better if we meet as a leadership to review it before we give directive. My humble request.
Mr. Speaker, with respect. Mr. Speaker, with respect. I find it, I may want this matter to rest based on what I am seeing as an attempt by a respected colleague to, as it were, mount roadblocks. Mr. Speaker, maybe today it is Afenyo Makin, but we have not stopped politics. We should have due regard to our individual reputation and integrity. We were here yesterday. The video can be watched in less than 5 minutes. We've watched it. I have gone an extra mile to procure the records. If today my colleague thinks that it is not proper for us to proceed for Joy FM to pull down this story and apologize, and that we should continue to allow it to stay on because he thinks that we have leadership. You never said leadership should meet. Mr. Speaker, let us be fair. I am saying this not only for myself, for all of us, including you. It is not fair. And if it is the pleasure of Honorable Aveji, we sit here as leaders. And if he thinks it is me and it is not him, I will take it as it is. But Mr. Speaker, I implore you to look at the situation and make the appropriate directive, whether subjecting this to undue procedural roadblocks, because fact are fact. Even they themselves are Joy FM. What they put there on their website, the video, does not say what they have written as a headline. Let us be fair. What the video they have attached says something different. So I see it as a surprise that my respected colleague from leadership will now say that people must watch and whatever, when it was only yesterday. Mr. Speaker, I think you should take a decision. If that will not be taken, I've been in politics 24 years of my adult life. I will take it. But one day in this house, posterity will come and hit at somebody. That's all.
Honorable members, leader, honorable members, I know the media house around have heard, Joy News has heard, they will have to do the needful. But my ruling this morning was that leadership will meet and discuss the matter. Obviously, leadership will meet and discuss the matter. But what I'm saying is that Joy News and other media houses, if you have heard this and you know you went beyond board, you can do the needful. But my ruling still stands that leadership will meet and discuss the matter.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not opening this. And I agree with you that your ruling still stands. Mr. Speaker, I forwarded a video to you. I know because you are sitting where you are, probably you didn't listen to it. Mr. Speaker, I can see the anger in my colleague, and I agree with him. He has every reason to be upset. But I can say on authority, yesterday I wasn't here. I've listened to the tape like 10 times. Was Ukraine evacuation mentioned? Yes, it was mentioned. Was e-levy mentioned? Yes, it was mentioned. So you see, you don't determine the editorial policy of a news. You may not be happy. You can write to either media commission and raise your concern. But I can bet you, the video is here, I can forward it to you. You mention Ukraine evacuation and you link it to e-levy approval. Here, the video I've forwarded, Mr. Speaker. If he challenges, I can play it now for all of us in this chamber to hear. So please, let's not take our anger onto the floor when you know that Joe Evans doesn't have audience on this floor. And you and I are politicians, and we know the avenues to address when a newspaper or news media does something you don't like. But you cannot try to take advantage of your presence in the chamber at their disadvantage when you know they don't have hearing in the chamber. And their speaker has ruled that leadership should go and sit, put our heads together to be able to come out with something. You are insisting that you want a solution now. If it is the solution you want now, I have listened to the tape more than 20 times. You mentioned Ukraine evacuation will cost money. And it is the reason we should leave all this politicking. Dollar is having challenges. That is why e-levy must be approved. You said it. The video is here. I've forwarded it to all of them. So you may disagree the way they captured the headline. But it is not for us to tell a news reporter how their headline should be. I told, please, let's allow speaker's ruling to stand. Let's meet in conclave, look at the thing together, and if there's genuinely a reason why what you want to be done, be done. As a house, we can come together, but you cannot insist in the chamber that you want it to be done your way. That cannot be right. Because I have listened to the video, and I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt, that if someone decides to link it, the person will be right. But let's allow the speaker's ruling to stand. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect. Mr. Speaker, with respect. Mr. Speaker, with respect. Hear me. Mr. Speaker, sometimes we may only act for posterity. Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, it is rich to hear you advocating in this manner. It is very rich to hear you advocating in this manner. I would subject all your comments to posterity and pray that we don't end our politics all too soon. But for the avoidance of that and for the records, Mr. Speaker, these are not mine. I can take this, but I want to raise the matter. This is from Hansa. These were my comments. Mr. Speaker, I will read it. I have the video. Mr. Speaker, with respect. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you allowed him to make the point.
I have to catch a flight.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it may be you tomorrow. If you put an end to it, I will rest. You rule. But Mr. Speaker, we are in this house. I need to make the point. I am not attacking an editorial policy of Joy FM. I am talking about an untruth. Mr. Speaker, all I am saying is, I never said, and the record per video and the transcript would bear me out, I never said that we need e-levy to evacuate Ghanaians from Ukraine. I never said that. Excuse me, Mutaka, you are not the one to say this. Mutaka, from how you have suffered at the hands of misreportage, you are not the one to say this. Mutaka, you are not the one. The trauma you suffered, you are not. Let me read aloud. Mr. Speaker, let me read aloud. As a nation, listen, unless you are questioning the transcript. Let me read. As a nation, Mr. Speaker, I would beg of you with the greatest respect. Mr. Speaker, I beg of you with the greatest respect. He made his point. Mr. Speaker, I beg of you with the greatest respect. He made his point. Let me make my point. After that, I would make my final comment to raise the matter. I may not even want you to proceed with your ruling. I said, let it be, but we are here. Let me make my point. As a nation, Ghanaian businesses which are supposed to do well to pay taxes will suffer. Businesses will not do well as expected, and projections will be affected. That is the reality. And I must bring this to the attention of all of us, so that any policy that will be introduced will be seen in that light. Then I came to wait, you were not here, wait. Then Honorable Aveji passed a comment which was not into the market. Then I responded. I said the Honorable Minority Leader did not speak into the microphone. But if he is talking about the e-levy, this is a more important reason why we need it. He did not speak into the microphone. But if he's talking about e-levy, that was the next point I was going to make. That we should congregate around it and even find a way of generating revenue as a country to save the situation. This is because we are not in normal times. Honorable Harry Nedrusu could not have raised this matter at a better time than now. This is a patriotic call. Mr. Speaker, what is your problem? Excuse me, if you allow. I've not ended. Let me finish. The Harry Nedrusu, the patriot and the Ghanaian, who is looking at the reality, has brought to our attention this important international issue. We do not live in isolation, but live within ECOWAS and AU blocks and are a member of UN. We are part of the world economy, and I'm saying that our economy is being affected and will be affected. We should look at the reality. Businesses will be affected. I am a businessman and I know what is happening. Lawyers will be affected. Entrepreneurs will suffer because of this Ukraine situation. Many of our compatriots import from Ukraine, Eastern and Western Europe. Import will be obstructed. Booking vessels will not be as it should be. Government revenue at our ports will be affected. How? Okay, as we continue, Mr. Speaker, we should know that. We should know, and that is why Honorable Adrisu brought this to our attention. With all of this, we should know that an innovative way to generate revenue in this crisis to sustain social intervention program as a country. Then interruption. Mr. Speaker, I am the pro tem leader of the House, and if they do not want me to speak on their behalf, Mr. Speaker, that was the intervention. Which other statement? I have all the transcripts and I have the video. I am saying, let us be fair. The position of Joy FM is that I have said that we need e-levy to evacuate Ghanaians from Ukraine. And I've repeated that I have not said that we need e-levy to evacuate Ghanaians from no. Please, wait. Mutaka, you are not the one to behave like this. But don't worry, I will start from the beginning and we'll read this matter. Mr. Speaker, let me start from the beginning.
Honorable leader, you've read it. We heard it.
I will not. I brought the application. If there can be directive for Joy FM to pull down this story, no problem. I will not want to have leadership to deal with it. I will withdraw my application. If it is a partisan, no problem. Do it. But we are here. We are here.
Honorable leader, honorable members, I have already ruled on this matter. I have said in addition that the Joy FM and all the media houses, they should take note. So Joy FM, if you knew that what you did was beyond do the needful. But that notwithstanding, leadership we are going to meet and discuss this matter. We are probably going to even go beyond this matter because it's not probably only in respect of Honorable Afenyo-Markins. So please, let my ruling stand. Leadership will take a look at this and take a decision. You'll come and announce it here. But meanwhile, Joy FM, please do the needful. So on that note, we will bring today's business and the business of the week to a close. The time is almost 3 o'clock and we don't need any motion from anybody. So our honorable members, I'll go ahead to adjourn the House to Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Honorable members, I thank all of you for your cooperation. The House stands adjourned.